So welcome again for the second session of our business forum. So today we're gonna talk about the future of esports education with the dean, Matt Wilson, and a CEO, Steve Kim from AESF, the International Federation, and JR from TUJ, and I'll be your moderator. All right, so before we get into like the specifics, why don't I just casually, ask how, like maybe give a little bit of introduction about yourself. I mean, mostly we talk about TUJ students, but they're also international students as well. So maybe give a little bit about your background, and also how did you get into esports? Because not every institution or every federation are into esports, so I'm sure there's a story behind to it. So if you don't mind me asking, Matt, maybe we can start with you.
Sure. So Matt Wilson, president and dean of the Japan campus of Temple University. This is the third institution, university that I've been president of. I was president of a university in Ohio in the United States by the name of University of Akron. I was president of Missouri Western, which is just north of Kansas City. And so, came to TUJ for the third time, actually, in 2020. So I was in leadership faculty from 2003 to 2009. I also was a student at TUJ on my way to becoming an international lawyer back in, how long ago was it? 1997 was when I was at TUJ. How I got involved with esports, growing up, I absolutely love sports. And so I'm an athlete at heart. I still play sports to this day competitively. And as I was growing up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, I would do newspaper delivery. And at the end of my newspaper delivery route, there was an arcade. And so all of my money, probably more than I should admit, actually went into arcade machines, and developed a passion for gaming. Back in those days, criticized by my parents, and I tried to convince them it was all about my hand-eye coordination for sports and for piano and everything else. I continued to power through, and interestingly, just kind of jumping forward. Here I am, a university president in Ohio, and that was really when esports was just starting to come on the scene in the United States. And I was in a athletics-related meeting with university presidents from all around our region that were part of the conference. And somebody said something about esports and how we ought to look into it. And so during the meeting, I started to pull up some stuff about the esports industry and where it was, and started to dream about what it might look like to put together a massive esports program for a university. Be on the cutting edge. Other universities really weren't into it at the time. And so as I was driving back, I started to campus. I started to call some people and talk to them about, my vision and wanting to see, could we put together an esports program at the University of Akron? So we actually built the biggest program in the country at the time. And I can talk more about that and how that has led to the passion of creating an esports program at Missouri Western, and then today creating an esports program at TUJ.
Wow, thank you. And that was what year was it when you did that?
The University of Akron, it would have been, I'm trying to think back, going backwards in time. That probably was 2017, 2016, 2017 at the time.
Wow.
And so we went big. We were one of the first to hire an esports director. We actually placed it in our honors department. We built out 3 esports spaces on campus, one in our honors dorm, one in our student union, and then put together a big esports arena in our football stadium at the University of Akron as well.
Wow, that's amazing. We'll get back to that more. Thank you. All right, so Let's move on to Steve. So, Steve, tell us about your background and how did you get involved in esports and all that, please?
Yeah, thank you, Varro. So yeah, good morning and good afternoon to all the audience here. And also, I give a full respect to Matt because I think he's kind of a pioneer of the sport, especially universal level esports in the United States. For me, actually, also quite similar pathway because I'm not education business, but my relevant business actually start from the sports business because I've been in football business from since 2002. When Japan and Korea, they organized the FIFA World Cup. And then after that, actually, I worked for one of the football organization, which is based in Malaysia, Asian Football Confederation. So mainly, I work for competitions, but at the same time, professional football development, and also the vision and mission and strategy for the AFC itself, and also to make it all system on, let's say, digital based or online based. This is something that I worked on, but I moved to another company, which is actually AFC marketing partner. At the time, it was called DDM's 40s, and they made a deal, $4 billion for 12 years. And then at the time, I moved to DDM's 40s to help commercialize sports properties, which AFC has. And then after that, actually, one of my friend, he just started working for AESF. And then they were trying to come up with all the system, structure, statutes, membership, regulations, all this stuff, also including strategy. So while I was there in DDM's 40s, I just help. And then I started getting to know about esports. Oh, this is quite interesting. And then also that time, especially the sports side, they started talking about the games, especially the eFootball. It was probably the pioneer and the initial stage. And also basketball, they started talk about it. And then I did some study by myself. And then, this is quite a promising future, not only about maybe virtual sports and sports-related games, but also esports itself. They have a great future. And then, I moved to AESF in 2020, especially when pandemic just started. And then that was actually how I got into esports. In the beginning, of course, I need to admit, myself is not really like a game expert, but I started learning games from my son. And then I picked up the games, especially like LOL and all these kind of major games. But before, I was only exposed to sports-based games. So now I got into esports, and then it's quite, I'm very happy to work with the AESF and all our colleagues and stakeholders. Yeah, maybe back to Varro, please.
Fantastic. I can relate to that a lot. Son, my son played a lot of Fortnite. That's how I picked it up. And then, so I'm sure we're not the only ones, right, in this era. That's awesome. Thank you. So let me move on to JR. I know, we had some introduction about this last session as well, but they're probably new audience too as well. So please share about your experience, how you got into esports and TUJ and all that.
Yeah, so I've been working at TUJ for about 12 years now. And the first 10 years I was an adjunct teaching film and media classes. So my background is all in film production, and gaming has always just been a hobby. But I'm really I game every day. So at TUJ around I think 2017, my supervisor in the media studies department asked me to just look through the roster of classes at Temple, Maine, and see if there's anything that would attract students here. And I found out that we actually had on Temple, Maine, there was a video game industry and gaming culture class. And I was like, wow, I would love to teach this class. We've got Tokyo Game Show here in the fall. So I asked him to put that in the schedule with me, and he did. So since then, I just every year was just teaching that class once a year. And that was kind of as I started to get more deeply, through that class, I started to get more deeply interested in, just how much gaming is a part of our culture and has changed our culture, and has pretty much come into its own now, finally, as one of the arts. Esports really wasn't, out of the whole gaming industry, esports was the thing that I knew the least about. But then Matt approached me in 2022 to ask me about the idea of maybe taking the role of the esports program manager at TUJ because he wanted to get an esports program started here. So I have been learning everything about esports, that side of the industry, since then. And we have come a long way.
There you go. There you go. Very interesting. Okay, so I want to talk about, like we're gonna touch on like higher education institution and also like federation, right? So, but let me start with higher education institution. So, Matt, what did you see back in the acronym, era? Like, what kind of possibility did you see that kind of made you keep going, and not only at one place, but you keep on pushing into in a different school institution as well? And what is it that you saw, and what does it make you keep on going as well? I mean, just share your experience with us, please.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a big part of it is, my approach to higher education in general, right? I mean, I think that there's a couple things that you need to be looking at. One is, what type of education can help you develop practical skills? And I'm going to come back to that here in a second. Yeah, another thing is, really the development of career pathways, right? Where are the careers? And yeah, if you look at gaming in and of itself, I mean, it impacts 3 billion people, right? Like JR, it's like, hey, what are you doing in your free time? Well, I'm gaming, right there. You've got an industry that, depending on who you look at and how they're valuing it, whatever price tag you have on it right now, 300 billion, right? You have 300 players, you have $300 billion industry. I mean, that underscores the needs for educators, for parents, for students to understand and utilize gaming's educational benefits, and at the same time, there's a lot of talk out there about mitigating potential risks, but, I'm sitting here looking at this going, it's enormous industry. And when we talk about esports and competitive gaming, particularly in teams, you've got the development of practical skills, career pathways. There's only a few people out there that are going to become professional gamers, right? That are so good that they're going to be able to make their living playing game. But, my vision really is okay, if you look at the opportunities beyond gaming, we've got science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, could be game development, could be software engineering, could be data analysis. You've got other things that are there when it comes to esports, careers in event organization, graphic design, art, IT support, social media management, broadcasting. You've got legal implications, right? Intellectual property, law. You've got medicine, that can play into that as well. So that was another component of it. I also think, what I'm seeing as an educator is people shying away from college degrees, right? In fact, I was having a conversation with a prospective student at the University of Akron who was like, I just like the game. I mean, I don't like school. I didn't think that college education was anything for me. And then I saw that, there was a way I could combine my personal interests with a college education. And he started to see the value of a university degree, right? I mean, one of the saddest conversations I have with folks is when they're in their 30s or 40s saying, oh, I wish I would have gotten a degree, or I wish I would have gotten an advanced degree, because they see that they sell themselves short and they can't advance beyond, other things. Another thing that I saw was really interesting. I mean, as university president, I convened one of my first steps was to convene a listening session. I sent something out to the college community and university community and said, okay, so President Wilson wants to talk about esports and potentially a program, and I'm interested in your input. So I've got a packed room, literally 150 students that are there to listen to me talk about the vision for esports. And I said, hey, this needs to be about you, about your education. I want an academic bent to this. Extracurricular is fine too, but this is what we're going to do. And it was a great session. After the session was over, a line of students that wanted to talk to me. And literally the last person in line came up, and with a tear in his eye, and I don't mean to sound sappy, but, it was what kept me going. He started to tear up and he said, my entire life, I have been told that I am wasting my time, that what I love has absolutely no value to it. And I'm constantly criticized by my parents and others about spending too much time on gaming. Today's session just validated my existence. He said the fact that I've got a university president who's here talking about the value of gaming and what it plays in, to me is just off the charts, incredible, right? So, kind of taking that and moving beyond even the misperceptions that I get today, right? I just don't get it. It was okay, let's put together something that is going to develop skills. We can put an education degree under it. We can put an institute. And I'm happy to talk about the medical institute that we developed that surrounded esports and some of the things that we did as well. But really, it was okay, let's now sit down and look at specialized degrees, potential certificates, programs that we might be able to do, scholarships that we might be able to offer, how we can build community and moving forward, because what I've seen is when you can build community in educational setting, it actually helps with degree completion. It helps with attracting students, attracting them to school, keeping them off the street, helping them get their degree. And then the pathway really forward is for them to get jobs. And that became really the driving force.
Wow. I can't help asking you a follow-up question to that. So, I mean, Matt, you say it very easily, but I'm sure when you started it, the reception around you would have been very different, and I'm sure you found a lot of pushbacks within the academia and all that. How was it when you started it? Was it, did you get a lot of supporters from the beginning, or did you have to, march your way through? Like, what it was like?
I mean, even today, I mean, there's pushback, right? And if you go back 7, 8 years ago, even more, I'm sure there were people behind the scenes going, "What in the world is President Wilson doing? Is he losing his mind? A major in video games." And I mean, even out on social media, I know that there were a number of my faculty that were like, "Oh my gosh, how can you spend money on something like this?" Right? Where I've got a university that's losing $30 million a year on, true athletics, and that's okay. But, video games, that's not okay. And then, on the academic side, people kind of scratching their heads, okay, what's going on? Even today, as I give tours of TUJ and we go past our esports, stations and our classrooms, and I talk about, what we're doing, there's still people that I can hear them, say, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. And I'm like, think this, 3 billion participants, $300 billion industry all around you and these type of things. But, I mean, the criticism definitely was, it was present, it was there. But, once you sat down with folks and you talked them through the career opportunities, the skills development, that takes place, the benefits of bringing it on, how video games impacts life. I mean, just, I told them, I said, today, surgery, how are surgeons trained? Oftentimes they're trained using video games. It's not slicing somebody up necessarily. It's sending a camera in and it's having a robot actually doing the surgery. When pilots are being trained, how are they being trained? I mean, they're being trained on video games, and flight simulators, right? I mean, it's so prevalent in today's world, and even more so. But I think really just sitting back or sitting down with people, talking with folks, helping them understand, truly played a role in helping move forward, and just plowing through and going, okay, it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be criticized. I'm going to be a pioneer in the sector, and we're going to move it forward, and we're going to impact, the person's life.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm now curious about to hear something from you, JR. So that's from the president side of it.
Right.
Now, when you were building the esports varsity here, how was the reaction from the student side, from the field side of it? Like what were the sentiment from them?
I mean, I still hear from students regularly, just like saying, hey, can we do this game? Can we do that game? That's the kind of, the reception is very warm, very active. I mean, one of the first things I did as the sports program manager in the fall of 2022 was just put out a notice that I was going to do an open information center, open information session one evening after class. And we had the room 506 downstairs, which has over 30 seats, maybe close to 40 seats. And we packed that room and had people standing outside looking through the window because they just wanted to find out what is going on at TUJ with esports. And it was from that moment that I started hearing from the students, what games do you want to play? And started figuring out how to actually build, which game would we start with and how would we, what structure might the first team be like. But on the student level, very enthusiastic. Now that's just the player side of things. A little bit more in line with what Matt's talking about the skills acquisition, is just all the sort of the support apparatus to the functioning of an esports program. Like you can see downstairs right now, we've got that the shoutcaster room, which is our media studies room. We've got that whole back blocked off with professional studio lighting. We've got the professional camera. We've got live switching going on, and live streaming. So there's that application of live video production skills from my students in the media studies department on show there. So there's kind of like it's not just about learning those skills, but taking the skills that you're getting from other departments and seeing how that can be applied to the gaming industry. The other thing, a very real world scenario is that, or case study coming out of our program is our social media manager. I hired on a student worker to handle all the social media of our teams. And through that experience, she managed to get an internship with another company doing their social media. So there's just all these sort of that whole apparatus, that whole environment around the esports industry to make it function are skills that they're getting from our other programs, and now learning that, oh, the gaming industry is where I can get a job doing what I learned how to do.
Right. Did you see any sort of pushback from the student side?
Pushback from the students? Really? No.
I think that explains. Okay, that's cool. So I'm gonna hold the higher education side right here, and let me move on to Steve. So Steve, for the audience, I know a lot of people are interested in esports, but I also wanted them to know like what international federation like AESF does in this sphere. And so could you walk us through what kind of activity and what kind of mission or vision that AESF has, and then what are you guys doing?
Yeah, sure. So it also is very interesting to listen to Matt and TJ about educational side and student side. But at the same time, as a federation, actually, esports federation is not really much different to sports federation. You can take it as one of the sports federation model. Basically, we have two big pillars. One is about corporate business side, and the other is a federation business side. The corporate business model basically is like any other football, badminton, or golf. We have our competition properties, and then we need to develop, we need to pitch, we need to have a organizing committee or LOC to host, and then we need to, of course, brand it, sell it, and we can promote it. This is actually one part of our the AESF business in terms of corporate side. And the other is federation business, maybe also any other like sports federation, development, education, membership and governance, and also like an inclusion program and stakeholder relations. But maybe one distinct area which can be different to other sports federation is stakeholder relations. Because one of the stakeholder relation for AESF, the most important two partners are publishers. And also the other side is the sports and Olympic side. Because as we know, esports actually we cannot do without publishers, their game title. Or even other, let's say, the new titles that we are pursuing, such as the Robo Soccer or the VR game, and also drone racing. This kind of titles, without publisher, we cannot do it. And then another part is Olympic inclusion, especially AESF. We really work very hard for the last 7 years to include esports as an official Olympic medal sport. So as a result, actually, luckily last year, we completed very successfully 2022 Hangzhou Asian Games as official medal sport. But before then, actually, also there are many steps. For example, 2017 AMEC in Turkmenistan, it was a demonstration sport. Also 2018 Asian Game, also it was demonstration sport. But from 2019 Southeast Asian Game, which is like a smaller scope, a regional game, we adopted the esports as official medal sport. And then government, parents, media, and any other sports, they started to pick it up as, oh, now esports is a sport. Or also, they are on the newspaper when they get a gold medal, silver medal, and bronze medal. Even one Hong Kong player, he was criticized by his parents every day for playing games, but he got a medal from the Asian Games, especially the Jakarta 2018, and he was a newspaper. He was an interview, and then his parents started very proud of his son, and they talk around about his son. So this is actually the main change that we try to make it as one of the stream traditional sport. And also, good news is our registration number for 2022 Hangzhou Asian Games, we surpassed that of the men's football. Men's football is always top in Asian Games and Olympic sport. But this time, esports already surpassed that of the men's football in Asian game history. So which means we have more room to grow. We have actually more promising future to improve and develop together. So anyway, this is the areas that we have as two major pillars and core activities for AESF.
Thank you for sharing, Steve. The Asian Games, I was there as well, so I know how big of a milestone it was last year, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about it in the next session with T1. We're also part of the gold medal for the League of Legends as well. So I want to ask you the same question. Like, if you imagine back like 7 or 8 years ago when AESF started, like I'm sure there were a lot of pushbacks, not only from one region. AESF look after international, so it's global, and also a lot of different government and all that. Like, did it change drastically since the Asian Game, the medal sport last year? Or do you feel any difference since?
Yeah, of course. Especially the Olympic events, the host country, they can have an immediate output, which means actually that their outcome is very positive. Their government support and societies, parents, school, media, they all turned very positive. The good example, Indonesia, Philippines, and also Vietnam. They were the host countries. But Hangzhou Asian Games is more like a general and broader scope of the impact across the Asian countries. And now, especially the country who got a medal from the Asian Games, because this is actually same medal as a football, same medal as badminton. And then now society, they realize, oh, esports now is a sport. And then if our athlete can get a medal, then they can get a same benefit as any other traditional sports players and athletes. And then now this actually make a lot of big change in a landscape, because previously the main challenge was about the perception about esports in society, especially Asian community, as we know well, is more conservative compared to the Western countries. And the parents, they put a lot of value for education. So they take it as esports as just gaming. But now they have some better understanding about esports. And then, but still, we cannot stop here, because actually we need to put more efforts to, let's say, convince and persuade, especially the major stakeholders of the esports. It can be parents, it can be media, it can be school. So this part, actually, we really need to work hard. But we are lucky to have a very good and strong support and the same understanding with the TUJ. This is actually our very important initial step, because when it comes to other countries, still not many universities, they have such a strong support from the dean and the president and also the professors from the school. But this is actually a good case study for us to present to our member countries across the Asia.
Very interesting. I was going to ask you exactly about that. So from an international federation perspective, education, I can see that it's very important. Now, there are many, many pillars of education, starting from very young to higher education. So what's the reason why higher education, like university level, is important to AESF? Could you give us a little more explanation about that? Like, it could have been like elementary school, or it could have been middle school, or maybe that's where we're going eventually. But why is ASF starting with higher education, like with TUJ?
Yeah, sure. When it comes to other sports, when they talk about grassroots development, they talk about like a golden age, 5 years, 6 years, 7-year-old, maybe purely from player and technical development perspective. But now, when we look at our society, especially Asia, uh, university education, higher education is very, very important. So maybe we can say we wouldn't put 100% priority on students. Actually, we need to see some also strong opinion from the parents, especially in Asian community. So if university cannot provide some promising opportunity or future along with the esports, then actually we cannot sell our idea to parents, because in the end, parents, they will support their kids to go to the university. Also these days, the tuition fee is not that cheap. Definitely they need student support and their maybe same understanding about esports. So of course, esports doesn't mean he will be the player. As Matt already pointed out, there are so many spectrum of the relevant areas. Actually, esports, we cannot say just only about esports. Actually, we talk about also game industry, publishers, even contents management, contents production, social media. There are so many relevant areas. So this kind of area, how we can groom the talents from university level. If parents, they see the opportunity from there, then definitely we will see high school level, like a secondary school level, elementary school level, probably we can have an easier approach to convince and persuade them. And that's why actually we try to target university first. And then if university can provide some platform whereby students, they can play, compete at the same time they can study. This is actually a US university model. This is something that we like to introduce to the Asian community for higher education at the institutional level, so that maybe society, media, government, parents, they can buy the idea. That's why actually we first target the university level, partners.
Thank you. Is there anything you wanted to add, like Matt or JR, about this?
I was going to say just one of the things, as we kind of talk through this, that, I think going back to your question before and kind of building off of what was just said, trying to persuade others about the importance of esports is truly something that that's what the vision is, right? That's visionary to try and do that. One of the things, just from a US perspective, and this was a strategy that I employed from day one, I think, the mindset really is games, right? This is just games. It's just for fun. What relevance does this have beyond that? So, when I embedded esports at the University of Akron, it was in the honors college. It was academic. And then, interestingly, as I watched other American universities jump into the space, oftentimes it was their athletic programs or maybe their student services. That was kind of where the leadership would place those programs. But I made sure that it had an academic base. And the idea really is, as you look at what esports can do, right, they can equip students with the skills and the knowledge to thrive in a ecosystem that enhances cognitive skills, critical thinking, problem solving, strategic planning. And these are things that not only are important in the gaming arena, but those are the things that are transferable to the classroom, and then even more significantly to future careers, right? So, when you talk about, a passion for gaming, sure, there's that passion, there's an opportunity to foster, social connections. But even as I jumped to, Missouri Western, it was the same thing. It was like, okay, let's place this in an academic department. And the faculty there caught the vision, and they developed an esports management degree that, we were able to run with there. And, another thing is, you've got the teamwork element, you've got communication that plays into that as well. And, it can be event planning, which is kind of part of what we saw at Missouri Western. I mean, fast forward today at TUJ, as we brought it in, we've got an esports certificate. And if you look at that certificate, and Bara, we appreciate you teaching as part of that and help guiding us along the way. It makes an enormous difference. But you've got the business of esports, you've got esports and social media, you've got esports and finance, you've got esports and the law. These are courses that are fundamental to the industry and what's going on. And, I think as we present that and you take an academic approach, it's kind of similar. I was talking with a Japanese university president, when I first came on, and it was like, so wait, let me get this straight. You're training people how to become professional gamers? I mean, that was the initial thing. And I said, no, let me talk to you about our curriculum and our certificate. And let me talk to you about, those type of things that are in the industry. And so, you do have the gaming, the federation, plays an enormous role. But it's one of those things where the gamers absolutely, right? They need to be built up, but everything surrounding those gamers, and anything that we do as a society that's based on entertainment, you're going to have those peripheral industries that swamp, the number of folks that actually can turn into being, professional players. So, yeah, and one of the great things about the esports industry is we can all do it together, right? Collaboratively, collectively, kind of bring those synergies so that we're building up the tournaments, we're building up the players, we're building up the academics, we're building up the industry. And, doing that, together is going to breed even more success.
We totally agree. Yeah, we totally agree. Especially when I started thinking about jumping into the sport business. That time it was really beginning stage. I had a lot of passion for sport, but I couldn't find a way in Korea because I'm originally from South Korea. And then I look at the US because that time, of course, the front runner was the US in terms of sport business. And then I realized, there are so many different areas of sport business. It's not only about just the marketing, or it's not only about the sponsorships. And then I realized, maybe I need to go and maybe learn first. This is how I started getting engaged with the sports business. Now, I think esports probably same. They have a passion for a game, or they have a passion for maybe esports, but maybe how we can help them maybe develop or expand their opportunity. This is probably, let's say, university, federation, also the game publisher. Probably this is probably one of our responsibilities, to provide such a platform and pathway for our young talents to groom and develop together.
Can't agree more. The time flies. It's like, there's so many questions I want to ask. I want to get into regionality because, after all, I mean, TUJ, we're based in Japan, and also I think for AESF as well, Japan is a very important market. So, Matt, you've built a lot of programs in esports in the US. Now you're based in Japan, and you're doing something new here as well. Do you feel a lot different compared to the US, academia scene and then Japan scene? What's your feel?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that kind of jump immediately to mind, right? Part of it is, coming to Japan, I would hope in an ideal world, and this is coming from the voice of an experienced international lawyer, right? Somebody who's practiced, somebody who teaches the whole like, and so I get it. But I would love to see an industry that is not hampered by intellectual property laws, where people can play with each other across borders more freely, and being able to take it globally, right? So when you say, regionality, in my mind, I'm like, we're constrained, because I would love at Temple University, Japan, to be able to scrimmage more with universities in the US because they've got more developed programs versus what you see here in Japan, which is most universities just having, clubs. And, it's not a widespread university investment, unlike the US, which is miles and years ahead of where that is, right? So I think that's, that's one big thing is the intersection of IP law and how that kind of stifles creativity and collaboration, you know, across borders. I think another thing in terms of the differences that I'm noticing is in the US, esports just, you know, it caught fire. And you know, the idea there is that, like we see with players, I mean, esports can foster inclusivity, right? And it can allow people, regardless of whether you are physically gifted, physically talented or not, it doesn't matter when it comes to playing games. That's one of the magical things. It doesn't, you know, your gender, your identity, you know, whether you're capable or not. I mean, literally the playing level, the playing field is level. And that was one of the things we saw in the United States in the esports world in collegiate competition was it didn't matter if you were one of the biggest universities in the US that had all of the resources or whether you were one of the smallest, right? I mean, if you could put together a team of 5 that would play, you know, League of Legends, or, you know, if you put together a team of 3 that would play Rocket League, you know, the resources really did not matter. And you know, I just don't see that as much here in Japan, where, you know, it just hasn't caught fire. You know, I mean, people just, you know, again, it's at the club level as opposed to something that's greater. It's certainly not, you know, academic. I think we're probably the only university that I'm aware of that has an active academic program in esports in the entirety of Japan, right? So I think that's another distinction where, you know, universities in the US have developed majors. You know, they understand the skills development angle, the academic angle, but I don't think that necessarily has come to Japan yet. You know, which is another, you know, component and thing that's kind of hampering it down as well. And then also, you know, one of the things that we do at TUJ, for instance, is, you know, we have a scholarship program for students. You know, and when we rolled out scholarship programs in the United States, yeah, that was really a driver for students to come to an institution was to, sure, you know, they probably on the open market in their own tournaments can make more money, but to actually get a scholarship and have part of their education paid for, you know, that was something that really was distinctive that I think would drive a lot of behavior where that's not necessarily in the mindset in Japan yet. So I think that's yet another you know, difference when we talk about, you know, the regions that are there. And then, I mean, this is, you know, aside from what we experienced. I think in the US, at least, private industry was more willing to partner. Not to say that Japanese industry isn't, but it was easier to line up sponsors and to have, I think, private industry catch the vision of what was going on at the collegiate level, where Japan seems to be a bit slower in that realm. And it's probably just the overall approach to esports versus not.
Oh, absolutely. I can relate to that a lot. Just curious, JR, so you interact with a lot of international students in TUJ,
Yeah.
right? And then, well, in the varsity team or esports activity, do you see any sort of like a difference in like between like international students and Japanese students on how they approach esports or how much they want to be involved in esports, or is that visible or like you don't see anything?
Yeah, no, I don't see a really big
Okay.
difference amongst our students at least
Okay.
here at TUJ.
Yeah.
But of course, our Japanese students are a bit more international minded. I mean,
Right,
they
right.
a lot of them come here
Yeah.
to get that
That's
American education and not have to travel to America.
That's right.
So, so yes, I think their mindset might be a little bit different from your average Japanese students. Yeah, I don't see an appreciable difference between the Japanese students and the international students. And our team is very international. I don't think
that's right.
and 2 students come from the same place
Right.
now. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I see. My question to Steve. So from a, you know, I know even from the name, it's Asian Electronic Sports Federation, right? So so from the beginning, Asia was a very important part of the plan. How does Japan, like, what does Japan mean to AESF? Like, I know, I mean, from a gaming perspective, there are many game publishers in Japan too, and then also, you know, it's very, you know, also unique market compared to other industries as well. But what's the take on AESF about the Japan market? What has been the challenge as well?
Sure. Especially Japan, we have 5 regions in Asia, from the Middle East to Far East. And then actually Japan, China, maybe, partially Korea. these three countries has a unique value, but especially Japan, we know that it's really birthplace of the gaming culture in Asia, but also at the same time, when it comes to two big pillars, especially the esports community and also the publisher, Japan has one of the best and most important values in Asia, not only Asia, actually in the world. So but compared to publishers and esports community development level is not up to the level of publishers in Japan market, and not only Japan market but also global market. One of the reason is actually Japan, they have a national federation which is called JESU. Also, they work very hard, and that they are a very good partner with AESF. But at the moment, the JESU is not recognized by the Olympic Committee yet, which means the Japan Olympic Committee. But some other country, for example, AESF, among 45, we have 25 members who are recognized by their NOC as a sports federation. Maybe can be recognized or be affiliated. This is their status. But Japan also now we are working very hard together with the JESU to be recognized, because the key is actually 2026. Also, we have a Nagoya Asian Games, actually, which is the 2026. It's not that far from now on. And then we really work closely with the JESU. And then this status actually give official status as a national team player when it comes to Asian Game or the Asian Indoor Martial Art Games. Also the Olympic IOC, they will start very soon. Esports games, which will be the annual event, and then definitely the esports status will be different compared to before. So this is something that we really like to work together with the Japan esports community and also the federation to escalate the status of esports up to the next level.
Fantastic, thank you. So I think our session is getting close to the end. The time is flying again, but let me ask you one thing. So to your view, so I believe TUJ and AESF made a partnership early this year, which was a great news. And so, what does it mean for the future activity for both TUJ and AESF? What are we thinking? What kind of vision are we looking at it, and how is it going to affect the future of esports education that we have in mind? If you can comment on that, maybe we can start from Matt.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we're so grateful for the opportunity to partner with the Federation. The expertise, the passion, the overall network is just incredible. And so, when we had the opportunity to sit down and talk about that, it was just the natural progression, right? I think in terms of concrete measures, I mean, one is we truly hope that we can plug our students into the Asian Esports Federation, so that they can learn, right? That they can develop that experience, so that they can volunteer, whether it's at events, internships, remotely, whatever it might be, to be able to kind of share that passion, and to do that, is truly, I think, incredible, and it would be, priority one, where we talk about putting students first. I also think that there is a lot of opportunity to, collaborate among, doing things like we're doing right now, right? Hopefully, we can do more of these joint sessions, and we can kind of take the message to the world, talk about, what we're doing as, institutions to move forward, to educate. I'm sure there's going to be opportunities to, conduct not only mutual events, but, research on different matters that are there as well. And, because we are based here in Japan, and we do have students from 70 different countries, I guess over 70 different countries now. I think there's a true opportunity for the Federation to tap into our students, and whether they're remaining here in Japan long term after they graduate or they're going to their home countries, being able to have that association really does expand the reach that AESF can have, not only here in Japan but around the world.
Fantastic. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think we are already aligned in terms of the key collaboration areas with the TUJ. And then as Matt exactly explained, we also look forward to have TUJ talents for the events, not only in Japan, but also other, ASF competition in other countries. For example, this year, we have a plan to have Asian Cup and also ASF E-Masters. Highly likely it will be in East Asia, Far East. So probably geographically it's not that far. So definitely we like to offer this opportunity to TUJ students who can come over and then also work with the, let's say, the publisher partners, also the game organizer partners, and also like a content production partner. There are so many areas of partners with ASF as well. And the secondly, research project, actually, we really look forward to. And because we have no doubt about the research capacity of TUJ, especially esports related, business related, or even maybe low legally related. So these kind of areas we really like to deepen the relationship with the TUJ. And the third is we really like to shape a good case study with the TUJ for university partnership. Because the very good thing is, for example, Matt and TJ, like professors, faculties, and the dean's leaders, very supportive to esports program. This is for us quite important because, for example, when we talk to one university in a certain country, professors, faculty, students, they're all supportive, but in the end, president, he didn't agree. So actually, we couldn't sign the partnership. There is one of the example, but we are very lucky to have TUJ as a partner. But not only just signing, actually, we like to have a more solid program and executions that we like to introduce this model to other universities in other countries, so that when we have some maybe enough number of partners, definitely we like to connect each other. For example, exchange program, and also a different culture of the esports, a different culture of the probably game industries. These kind of things actually, when it comes to a different background knowledge, we know that it has a synergy effect. So this is something that we like to grow by having this university partnership program, especially most importantly with the TUJ at the moment.
Fantastic. How about you, JR? So, I mean, from, you also manage student body and all this stuff. So what would you like to see more with the ASF partnership in the future?
Yeah, well, definitely the opportunity for the students to be able to participate in international events. I think that's an incredible opportunity and something that I'm really looking forward to getting started. Also moving forward, I think the idea of TUJ being the model for the partnership is something that I really am hopeful for in the future, because again, the issue here in Japan is that they don't really have this sort of they don't have the club scene. So we want to see that the other schools can see that there's value in getting more serious about esports and maybe following our model of the varsity, the American varsity system, and having some more consistent teams that they can put forth into the esports world. So I really think it could be a pivotal model for other Japanese schools to follow. That's what I hope for.
Absolutely. And there's the interesting timing to the Nagoya Asian Games as well, which is, Steve mentioned, it's coming pretty soon. It's happening in Japan. So yeah, that's all great stuff that we can consider. Okay, so I think time-wise, we're 53. So we can take some questions from the audience or from the call, if there's any. Good. If not, okay. If not, then maybe we can have one final message around, to each of you. So maybe I'm guessing, a lot of the audience will be from actual students, but also there will be educators, from Japan, but also around. So maybe like to give a final message about esports and education. Let's start with if you don't mind, Matt.
Sure. Yeah, more than happy to do that. When first and foremost, Burrow, thanks for putting this together and moderating this. It's been a great opportunity to not only talk about esports at a university level, but just as a reminder of the important role that I think it plays, going forward. Several takeaways. Still there's so many people that don't get it in terms of esports. So from an education standpoint, Steve mentioned, hopefully we can stand as a model so that some people can get it, right? The more people, and whether that's educators, presidents, professors, parents, society as well. Some of the things that we haven't touched on that just kind of come to mind. I mean, educators, as an educator, we know based on research, students being engaged in extracurricular activities actually boosts student success. They miss less class, they graduate at a higher rate, they stay motivated, you have those type of things that are there as well. We talked about the preparation for careers and how widespread that is. And I think that's an important message that can never get lost is, hey, we're just not talking about professional gaming. It's great, hey, that is a role, but there's so many other roles that are there as well. As you talk about gaming in general, and esports, it fosters an interest in STEM education. What I have seen is it helps students with time management. It helps them with sportsmanship. It helps them overcome conflict because invariably when you're in a team sport, you're dealing with conflict. And, we've seen that not only here at TUJ, but at other institutions where, what happens if a team member isn't pulling their weight, right? Or, what happens if a team member lets somebody down? How do you deal with that? These are really life lessons that can help teach you fairness, that can teach you respect. One of the things that I think is very important in life today is that esports does is it teaches you how to manage success and it teaches you how to manage failure, right? I think those are some big lessons that are there, even beyond just the social skills and working together with one another and those type of things that are there as well. But really more than anything, I mean, esports and the study thereof, it requires students to set goals, to assess the surroundings that are around them, consider individual strengths and weaknesses, having to learn to establish, different tactics, how do you think strategically, whatever you do. So anyway, as we navigate kind of the evolving landscape of higher education and hopefully steps forward that, TUJ can pioneer here in Japan, it's my hope that we embrace innovative approaches that can cater to the diverse needs and interests of students that are around us. Esports is a promising avenue for personal growth, for empowerment, and really just facing unique challenges that come across in academic settings. And so through academic programs, through extracurricular events, those type of things. I mean, it's TUJ's goal to provide students with the opportunities that enable them to thrive academically while really harnessing the power of the esports world.
All right, thank you. Let me go with you, JR.
Yeah, I mean, Matt just really covered the whole scope of the benefit of the esports and education. But I think if I can add anything to that, it would be that that gaming on campus is also it's a good boon to promote community on campus. When we started this program, we were just coming out of COVID. Not a lot of students were on campus, and like but throughout COVID, I think something Matt did early on was he approved the purchase of some gaming computers in just the back row of 506. And I swear I was on campus most of the time for media classes. There's a lot of hands-on stuff. So I was one of the few teachers that was almost always there. And that was the room where everybody went. when there were students on campus, that was where we found them. And now we have the whole esports lab, all of 501, 20 computers are gaming capable computers. They're also media computers for the communications classes doing video editing. But in between communications classes, it's just that you have the students who want to game are just kind of waiting for the class to end outside. And then they come in and they do their gaming and they go in 5 minutes before the next class comes in. So it's really just kind of like, it's giving students a place to belong on campus and to feel like they have something that they can do here at TUJ that they can't quite do at home. Maybe they don't have the best gaming computer at home. Maybe they don't have all the software that they need. So we're kind of providing them that environment where they can come and do something that they love very easily and together. And then, more and more we're getting into doing gaming events like today, like Tensima. We've had our Smash Brothers. We've got students organizing a Smash Brothers competition since 2022. We just did a FGC for the first time with Tekken and Guilty Gear. And that's how we're actually building connections with the gaming community outside TUJ. And Tensaba, we're going into number 8 next weekend. And that has become a very popular tournament around Tokyo, and even like some people in Osaka. Our team went to Osaka very recently, and they talked to people there that were like, oh, yeah, we go to Tensaba too. So, you know, it's all, for me, it's there's that great community aspect of gaming, both on campus and then making connections from campus to making connections off campus as well with the greater community around us. I hope to do a lot more of that moving forward.
Wow, thank you. Sense of belonging, communication, community. Good stuff. Okay, Steve, you got the ending, final message.
Final message, yeah. Thank you, Carol. Actually, from federation and also maybe from industry point of view, actually the first question, why we want to have a partnership with the higher education like a university. Because, for example, sport, we all know that national team player or top tier club players, this is only minority. They are a very small number. How about the others? When they play for example, 7th division or 6th division in football, then if they are injured, if they need to drop the football career, then what they need to do? So this is something that we always question about for our esports, because esports still is not structured as organized as other traditional mature sport. But when we see the future, basically from federation point of view, of course, we cannot do education by ourselves. Maybe, let's say, referees, coaching license, this kind of stuff, yeah, we can come up with. But still, traditional education value and the program and structure, we need to rely on the higher educations. So when we, for example, company, when they hire people, we know that, oh, he used to be a rugby player, but also he graduated a certain university, a low degree or management, then definitely employer point of view is very attractive. We know that he's very disciplined, probably is responsible. We know also about time management, and also he probably physically is quite maybe solid, and which means he has energy and passion. But maybe young generation now different because they are more exposed to esports compared to sports. And then we like to have such a story whereby employers, when they see the young gentleman and talent who have experience as an esports player, but of course not top tier player, but he has experience of esports player, but also he finished a degree in management or law or even engineering or even arts, for the game productions. And then this kind of talent we want to be preferred in the job market. So this is something that we want to pursue by grooming esports side, because education side definitely we need to rely on the partners, but the esports side, that's why we are actually trying to launch university championship to provide one of the platforms. And also after we succeed in establishing university championship, we will go to the next level, which is about open championship or youth championship. So that this is not the national team, this is not the elite level players competition, but also we like to provide this kind of international opportunity so that this can be like encouraging elements for the players, and they can participate if they have a certain performance or outcome, also with their academic achievement. When they go to the society, it will be a very promising and young talent in the society to contribute. But this is something that we like to expect from the esports industry and the federation point of view.
Wow. Thank you. Okay, so wow, that's been fantastic. On behalf of the Linatone team, I would like to really thank you all, Matt, Steve, and JR. I know it's on a Sunday afternoon, so I know you're all very busy people. So it's been an honor to moderate this session, and let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all for it. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, DJ.